I went out the other day to shoot some landscapes, primarily early in the morning and a bit of evening work. But during the middle of the day I found myself at a bit of a loss. The conditions were incredibly harsh, there was a storm blowing, and it was particularly bad for landscape photography. So rather than sit in the car and waste the opportunity, I put a red filter, a deep red filter, onto my Nikon FE, loaded some FP4 up and just went out and shot handheld. It can be very difficult when you've come out with an expectation of what you're going to shoot and the light doesn't play ball. So we're here, midday, incredibly bright conditions. The sun is just absolutely blasting into our faces. So rather than waste the opportunity, I'm going to break out my camera. But for a change, I'm going to shoot with black and white film and a red filter. Now, I don't often use red filters. I sometimes find them a bit harsh, but I think with today's light, the way it is, it's going to be the only way really of making something of this. Well, I don't mind admitting that was absolutely awful out there. Very dramatic and stormy, but my teeth are full of sand, the camera's full of sand. I hope to venture out again. That was only about half an hour, but I am absolutely worn out. So if I don't get out again, that's the end of the world's shortest vlog. If I do get out again, yeah, I'm going to get it better next time. Okay, so nothing earth-shattering there. It's not going to win any competitions, but after getting the sand out of my teeth and my camera, which took about an hour, I came back, I obviously processed the film, and I quite liked that last image. I quite enjoyed the sort of swirling sand dunes, you know, the marram grasses, and all that drama. So rather than just discard the images and sort of leave them on Lightroom, I thought I'd actually go into my Darkroom and make a print for a change. So let's have a quick look at how I got on with that. Okay, so here I am in my darkroom, or should I say garage. Quite basic, quite rudimentary, and I'm going to be using my Mio Grade Enlarger to make this image on a piece of Kentmere VC Select, which is a cheap paper, just a resin coated paper, but ideal for this. It's not really a fine art negative, it's just a basic image, so let's press on. Now the first thing I've got to do here is make a test strip. Now the purpose of a test strip is for me to identify the correct exposure for the base setting. So what you do is essentially expose the piece of paper in increments, so it gets gradually darker the more light it gets. So let's make the test strip first. We'll set the lens aperture to f11 to give us plenty of time to work with. See how we get on. Okay, now the fixing stage is done, we're okay to have the white light back on again, and I'll take the print and put it in some water and assess the density of the image. So this is the result of my test strip. I have a varying range of densities in there, from the darkest over here, which has received the most exposure, and this is the base, which only received 4 seconds of exposure. Now I can see straight away that the base is too light and the dark one is too dark, but if I have a look around about here between these two, particularly this one here, this has got nice density, also got some good highlights, and there's a fair amount of detail in the sky as well. Now I can sort the sky out later, and also this foreground's a bit light, but for now I'm going on the third strip, the middle strip, so let's do a straightforward print just using that exposure alone. Okay, so this is what we refer to as our straight print. This is a print made with a single exposure, it's the base exposure, and I'm looking at it thinking that's not actually too bad for a first effort. I mean, obviously there's work to be done in there. The foreground grasses are far too light down here, they're distracting me, and the sky, typically as you'd find in most landscapes, could do with a little bit of a boost, so we're going to have to burn the sky in. I'd also like to lift these grasses in the mid ground here, so that's a dodging activity. Yeah, possibly a little bit too dark there, so I'm going to make another print, use this base exposure, but I'm going to add some burning at the top and bottom and a bit of dodging in the centre. Okay, here we go. Here's our resulting manipulated image. This is the original base image with no manipulations at all. Now you can hopefully see straight away that there is a considerable difference in the foreground. I've lightened it considerably, however I've actually lightened it too much, so I'm going to have to cut back on my dodging slightly there. The sky, however, the sky I'm pretty happy with. I wouldn't actually go any darker than that. It'll start to look unnatural, and it is holding the print in a lot better than before. Foreground I would say needs a little bit more burning, so I'm probably going to add another half stop there to the foreground. So yes, getting closer all the time. Let's flip that one into there, make another print, and see how it compares. Okay, so how's this one come out in comparison? Well, I hope you can see quite clearly that it's got a lot of contrast in it now. It's quite a punchy print. It's closer to my original envisaging when I took the shot originally, and it also brings out some of the characteristics of the red filter. Now I've got the dodging right in the centre now. That's a lot better. This one was, that's a little bit muddy still. The earlier one there was a bit harsh. Let's compare now to the original straight print. Apologies for the mess. Okay, that's the original straight print with no manipulation, and hopefully you can see that it's okay, but it's not a patch on this one. The sky's great here. Really pleased with that sky. No obvious haloing, really good and clear and crisp in the clouds, and the foreground nice and dark, so your eye is being brought into this centre of interest here, which is the flowing grasses. So yes, that's been a very, very brief printing session, very successful, although it's not particularly special image, but yeah, I'm pleased with it. So I do hope you enjoyed that brief excursion into my darkroom. I'll do far more on that in the future. I'll go around all the setup and how I use it, how I built it, the chemicals, the papers, etc. But yeah, I was quite pleased really with the resulting print. Here's the final one I made, which was the one with the grade 2.5 and a bit of burning top and bottom, a little bit of dodging in the centre. And as you can see, that compares to the, if I can just get the sheen off it, there's a problem with resin coated and these pearl papers, is yeah, it's far better than the unmanipulated print, the straight print, which is yeah, well, you know, it's a bit bright in the foreground and again a bit bright in the sky. So all in all, quite an enjoyable little trip really. It just goes to show you as well that there's no such thing as bad weather photography. You've really just got to get the right subject matter. Speaking of which, there's a storm, another storm coming in on Saturday, and I was going to stay at home, but you know what, I'm going to go out now, so wish me luck. Right, well, thanks very much for coming along on this this short vlog, and I'll see you again soon.